Thanks for joining us this evening on the Women's National League show with myself, Alanna and FinalWhistle.ie. We've reviews and previews and everything in between coming up for you with Emma Clinton, as well as interviews with Treaty United's Heidi O Sullivan and Galway WFC's Emma Starr. So stay tuned, it's all coming up for you in the next hour. So as I said, to start off then, I'm joined by 17-year-old rising star of Treaty United, Heidi O Sullivan. Thanks for joining us here, Heidi.
Thanks for having me.
So a busy schedule in the last few days for yourselves with the two games within a few days of each other, and then Cork just yesterday. How do you kind of handle a quick run of games like that?
Yeah, it was quite a quick turnaround, to be honest, and especially as an amateur team, we all have work, school and college going on at the same time. But to be fair, the coaches did bring in quite a good recovery strategy for us, and all the girls stuck by it, so it's all part of it, and we got through it.
And yourself being from Cork yesterday must have been a bit of a weird one for you.
Yeah, Munster derbies are always going to be good, but I suppose I played in two last year, even though it was at under 17 level. But I personally loved them. But this year it was a big step up, as it was senior. So you always want the bragging rights over the Cork girls, because I played with all of them before. But we played them two more times, so hopefully we might turn things around.
And as you mentioned, there's quite a lot of Cork representation between Treaty with yourself, Jessie, Alex, and a few more too. Why do you kind of feel the move over was right for you?
Well, I suppose when I was approached by Treaty, I did have to weigh up my options. But I thought the 17s team last year would have suited me and the way I played, and I felt like it was going to be a bit of a challenge for me as well. And I suppose it proved to be the right decision, as we won the 17 league last year and now breaking into the seniors as well, which was always going to be my aim.
And you captained that team too, so you're well used to a bit of leadership.
Yeah.
And Treaty have been quite unlucky in quite a lot of their matches as of late, and yet to collect points, but definitely improved performances. How do you guys kind of keep optimistic despite all of that?
Yeah, definitely. Like, it is disappointing, but we have very strong coaches behind us, and I suppose that's what keeps us going all the time. Donna's very passionate about the team and our development, and then you've Ashley on the other side that, she looks after our environment to make sure that we're all, motivated, and then in the background, then I suppose that like weighs up. They weigh each other up then and balance each other out, and that's a good kind of connection that's there. And then you have like Johnny and Rob and Owen in the background making sure we're all motivated and fitness and recovery and everything. And then just all the girls just fantastic, just with keeping positive within ourselves and as a group.
Yeah, because team morale, I'd say, well, from the outside looking in, would have to have a lot to do with it, given that, you're hoping the person beside you is putting in as much effort as you are, maybe week in, week out.
Yeah, definitely. But all the girls do, in training and everything, we just try work hard and just try get the results then in the end, and they'll come. We're just growing.
And yeah, a young team, as you say, but who would you say has inspired your footballing career the most, Heidi?
I suppose I definitely say my dad and my brother, because since I was around 4, I've been going to my brother's matches, and my dad then has been managing my brother, and they've just been behind me the whole way, and my mom as well.
So you're that classic story of killing each other in the back garden, then, is it?
Yeah.
You're a key player too in the 3D side, as I mentioned, and for the 17s last year. At such a young age, what's it like to have that bit of responsibility, I guess?
Yeah, there's always going to be challenges in your career, and I suppose having it at a young age is going to prepare me only going forward, and all I can do is just make me better, not really only in soccer, like in life too, because it just teaches you so much.
And do you feel you've learned a lot, maybe even just in the short time of the step up, as you mentioned?
Yeah, definitely. There's a massive difference between 17s and senior. It takes a while to adapt to it, but and the environment as well with the 17s and senior and the competitiveness, but it's definitely, will make me better.
And you're involved in the under 17 Irish squad too. How do you find the high performance setup?
Yeah, it's so good, just being away for weeks and just the environment there, and then going, when you come back into your club, you're trying to bring back what you had in there into your club, and that just raised the standard then and there again. So it's always great, and it will prepare you going forward as well.
Yeah, it's probably kind of a different experience given that you get to travel a bit, but also mix with other girls in the league that are of your quality on different teams as well.
Yeah, definitely. All the girls on the 17s, they're such good players, and then coming in and you be playing against each other, it's just, there's always that bit of rivalry then, in camp, talking about all the matches at the weekend. And even if our clubs are playing against each other while we're on camp, we're always watching and having a bit of laugh about it.
And do you think maybe the current crop of senior players are kind of maybe paving the way for you guys somewhat, given they're so like making such strides as of late? And as you mentioned, like there's great players coming up through the ranks, but maybe there's something to emulate, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Like even looking at them playing against Sweden, the second best team in the world, and the way they performed, it was fantastic, really. And it just shows how much women's football in Ireland is growing. And there's great support behind it as well. And that's us looking on at that. Then that's what we want to be when we're older. So it's great to see that. And even like the crowds that you see in Tala when the women's are playing their home games is just fantastic.
Yeah, I was right to say it probably gives a bit of optimism as well that there is such hype as well around it.
Yeah, definitely. And even our qualifiers there that were in Tala, there was a great crowd to the first game and even the other two games. So that's great to see, and at such a young age as well.
And yeah, you're making brilliant strides yourselves, of course, too. But you're still in school, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, fifth year.
A fifth year, I was about to say, not the big Lutons are coming up. So, and so you're talking to me, I guess. How do you kind of balance the demands of it all? You kind of touched on earlier there that, you do have to have the quick turnaround, but also the commitments of it all, given the fitness and also the travel too.
Yeah, definitely. Like it is hard because you're traveling to Limerick 3 to 4 times a week and not getting home till late, and then up for school the next morning. But I suppose you've teachers behind you that are supporting you in that, and they know that that's kind of the path that you're taking, and they're behind you and giving you work when you're away. And then I'm trying to catch up then when I have a chance. Well, my brother would say different, but I try.
You get to pull that one. It's like, okay, miss, like I play
Yeah.
for Treaty United now.
Yeah.
What would you say your personal goals are for the season, Heidi?
Well, definitely just to work as hard as I can for the team, and try get as many results as we possibly can. And definitely to put on the Irish jersey again, like I said, that's always been my aim.
And you've a tough one this weekend now again in Shells. We'll get to that one in a second, but you mentioned there the away days. Where would you say is your kind of favourite away ground? Given, I suppose, you have to travel to your home ground even at that.
Yeah. Well, I suppose I'd have to say Athlone because I've won 2 leagues there. I would have to say Turner's Cross as well because I've been playing my local league finals there since I was about 10. So there is
Yeah.
great memories from Turner's Cross. So I don't think I could really separate the two.
There's 3 out of 10 so on the top grounds list around the place. With the Marketsfield getting more of a crowd too since you've moved there, is that kind of give you a bit of hope that there is such support behind the team now?
Yeah, definitely. There's been great atmospheres, especially in our last 2 games as well. We've had young girls coming from Limerick teams, and it's great to see them coming to support us as well, and out in the pitch. And the club though have really supported us, like especially as the women's side. Like as much as they've done for the academy and the men's side, they really give us every bit of what we need, and if we ask for something, it's always done. And even the pitch, like the facilities that we have, are just there for us, and it's just fantastic to see that. And I suppose the club is really after growing since it started. And I suppose we're a young team, so we will start growing.
Definitely, yeah. And I saw the pictures, as you mentioned, of the younger teams coming in and getting their pictures with you guys. It's brilliant to bring a smile to your face anyways. But finally, as I said, Shelburne in Tulka, I think, on Saturday. How do you expect that one to play out?
Well, they're a fantastic team, league champions, and they've quality just all over the pitch. But I suppose after our loss last night, we have to go in with no fear and just try and give the best performance that we possibly can. And, the results, I suppose, will take care of itself in the end.
Yeah, hopefully they'll start coming for you guys soon. But brilliant stuff there, Heidi. Thanks for coming on, and best of luck in your next few games.
Thanks, Alanna.
Now, thanks to Heidi there. I'm joined by Emma Starr of Galway next to discuss her USA roots, her wealth of football and knowledge, and her lots of teams across multiple different countries and the Hotpress column. Emma, there's a long list to your repertoire there.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. We'll start, I suppose, with the most recent thing, the fantastic 3-0 win there for Galway over Bulls at the weekend, and you featured on the score sheet alongside Jenna and Shauna Brennan. Nice to get the goal.
Oh, definitely. I think we've just been like working really hard in training for everything to finally come together. And honestly, it felt like everything we've been working for just had a great like team win. And obviously scoring on top of that was pretty nice as well.
And you were, of course, at Galway before, I think, in 2018 and came back last year. Obviously, the pandemic was wedged in the middle of that there somewhere, but where did you navigate in that little gap?
I went to Denmark and I played in Austria as well, which I thought were two really great moves for me personally, just to experience other places, other styles of play, get to meet new people, and then kind of come back to Galway with a bit of different skills and new confidence and just bring a different kind of style of play to the team. And then also see how much the league has progressed since I've been gone has been like unreal to see. It's been so great.
Mm-hmm. What do you think the real drawback then was to Galway?
Well, I had kept in touch with like the past managers and the players as well. Everyone's always been so friendly and welcoming, saying like they've been more than happy to have me back. So I always kept that in mind. And then honestly, it just kind of felt like the right time. I had spent a year at my club in Austria and I just kind of wanted a change. And I was talking to some of the girls and I was like, you know what, I feel like now's a good time to go back. And I felt like the team ended last season really strong. So it was nice to come back and kind of turn around a bit of a interesting start to the season last year.
Really, really strong, I think, is an understatement of the year there, really, given the way things played out on the final day. But yeah, I touched on it there, but originally from Philadelphia in the States, a far cry from the west of Ireland anyways.
Yeah. I've always wanted to play abroad, like ever since I was younger. And then I just didn't really know kind of the best way to go about it. And then after college, I had moved out to the west coast of the US. And then I just one day looked up the easiest places to get a visa, and Ireland was on the list. And so I was like, perfect, here we go. And then Galway just caught my eye and never looked back.
That's an amazing story, actually. I didn't hear that one before, but it's funny how things work out. But what was the women's football landscape like for you growing up in America?
I was kind of coming up right at the right time because like when I was about 5, like the 99ers won the World Cup in the US team did. So that was like massive with like publicity, and then women's soccer players started becoming like actual kind of celebrities and people that young boys and young girls would look up to. So we were getting more teams available and club teams. Like we would travel almost every weekend to go to tournaments and go to matches like in different states from the time I was like 11 to I went to college. So like it really was full time. But it was great because we just had so many more opportunities than I think even just a few years prior. So
yeah, and like you kind of mentioned it already, but given the change in perception over the league and even the league here, even in just recent years, what do you think kind of brought that about? Like obviously the the USA like team, they're phenomenal, and like maybe that strengthened it over that side of the pond. But this side, it's kind of had a surge, I think, in the last few years, especially.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if it has to do with maybe the domestic leagues getting stronger or social media, or then Irish players also going to play in like the UK or going over to the US and coming back as well. But it just seems to be all over the world that women's soccer is getting more and more popular. And I think it's just because it's been given the platform kind of to be on TV and to be streamed, to have matches streamed every weekend. Like, I just feel like that's a huge deal because I think it's always been popular. I just think it hasn't really been given really the right platform, and it's been pushed aside for maybe other sports and maybe men's sports. And even still, like in the US, it's like a huge domestic league with tons of, famous players, and they're still fighting to get their matches at, good kickoff times and on TV. Like there'll be championship games will be held at 10 in the morning because they can't find a pitch, like, and it's on Astro. So it's like crazy things like that, even though they're some of the best players in the world. But I just think it's moving in the right direction. It can go like even farther.
And of course, I remember that debacle. Actually, there was talk of, there's no time for preparation, even nutrition-wise, that kind of way. But also that, as you say, it's not really getting the platform it deserves media-wise when things are kicking off maybe at 10 o'clock in the morning, like, or at an unsuitable time.
Exactly. And it's like, all the athletes are doing all the right things, like they're putting in just as much time, just as much effort. It's just a matter of like people really giving it the respect it deserves, I think. And I think even like the Irish League is, now that all the matches are streamed and the international team is doing so well, like I think that is just huge for the sport in general.
Yeah, definitely. It all feeds in. But another thing contributing to that, your Hotpress column, She Shoots, She Scores, the diary of an American footballer in Ireland. I keep up to date with it. It's brilliant. How did that come about?
I got an email from Paul from Hotpress, like when I was home for Christmas during the break, and he had written a column about the match that Galway played Shells last year. And he was there, watched the match, sent me an email, said, I heard you're a freelance writer and I heard you're coming back. So like, would you like this opportunity? And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, definitely. As long like I didn't want to write about like other people in the league per se or other teams, because I was like, it'd be quite awkward then when you go out on the pitch and you're playing against them. But I was like, sure, I'll write about my own experiences. And yeah, it's been cool to just like speak about how unique everyone's own like pathway can be in terms of amateur or professional football.
Yeah, definitely, because I think it's funny in that it both kind of pulls down the curtain to give you a behind the scenes of what it's like to be a women's National League footballer in kind of the professional sense, let's say, but also that like you guys don't get maybe the supports that are needed in some regards with regards to like recovery or that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like Galway's made so many strides like since I was here the first time, and I think like they're really putting an emphasis on the all-around athlete. Like we have a nutritionist and physio and just recovery sessions and trainings that work well for what day of the week. And I think it's just when clubs can get even more resources and even more funding and more support, it's like you're going to see, I think, the level of the league continue to rise, because it's like when clubs invest in their players, like the level of play will definitely go up, because I'm pretty sure everyone in the league is probably, working full time. They have a bunch of things on their minds. So it's like, yeah, when players get the support that they need, I think it's a huge, like a massive difference all around.
Yeah. And you can even see, as you said, like maybe there's more and more talk of those increased supports, perhaps maybe coming into the fold over the next coming years. But I think I had this right anyways. You're a writer, but also a S&C coach.
Yeah, that's what I went to university for. And first time that I was in Galway, I worked at a gym as a personal trainer. And then just with the pandemic happened, and then I just was kind of on the move every like 2 to 3 months, and it was nearly impossible to get a job in a gym if you're always like traveling around, especially during the pandemic. So I was like, I gotta do something to make money. So it just kind of all happens like right in March of 2020, right when COVID hit. So just a total new career path.
And we talked a bit about maybe away days there with Heidi, but your Ireland away days would be nothing compared to the travel time of your American ones, I'm sure. We're giving out about nothing here, Emma.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, back in college, like we would have a match either on Thursday, Sunday, or Friday, Sunday, and we would fly to some of our matches. So you'd fly on a Thursday, play Friday, fly back Saturday, and then you'd play Sunday, and then you'd go to class for about 3 days and then do it all over again. So getting on the coach bus to go up to Dublin isn't too bad. Just a 3-hour journey. Like that's pretty much nothing for how big America is.
It's light work altogether.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you say then? Would you say that aspect, maybe not so much in that regard, like the 3-hour trip, but maybe the trip or the travel to Austria, like you mentioned, or those kind of countries, is maybe a positive thing for you that football has brought about, the travel element?
Yeah, I mean, like when we had our away matches in Austria, like we would train in the morning on a Saturday at like 7 in the morning, and then we'd immediately get on the bus and drive all day, about 7-8 hours to get to where we were gonna play the next day. And I actually, it was a long weekend, but I actually enjoyed it because you really got to know a lot of the girls. Like you would sit with everyone, you would play games on the bus, like you kind of bond and stuff. And I feel like that's happened just even on our away match against Bose. Like we were able to all like spend time on the bus, and it's hard when girls are in school, some are working, like we have huge age gaps like on the team. So it's nice when you do get those like 3 hours there, 3 hours back to kind of sit and chat with people that you might not have time to at training.
And of course, like you've done it nearly on the biggest scale, like going from America to Ireland to wider Europe to play football. Do you think maybe there's like you have to have a certain level of maturity for maybe it to work out for you? Because, you know, like often we see young Irish footballers getting these deals abroad and it's brilliant for them. But I have to imagine it must be tough too, like, because I can't imagine going over, like moving to a different country so young or whatever, and then taken into this whole new experience. Like,
yeah, I think you really have to go in with an open mind. I think you have to be kind of spontaneous and be kind of just like okay with whatever happens, and like kind of independent as well. Like you kind of have to go in and just be confident and be sure of yourself. I think if you go in a bit scared and a bit nervous, like it's just going to be harder to make friends and to play your best. So if you go in with an open mind about it, you're going to end up really, really enjoying the experience, even if it's maybe not what you thought of at first, just because you're going to be in a new place, you're going to be living somewhere strange, like meeting new people. But like, I think it's probably one of the best things you can do as like a young person and like a young football player, just to get out of your own like bubble or like your own safety net. You know, it's going to challenge you like as a person to meet new people, make new connections, and then as a player just to get better. Like when you get outside of your normal training environment, it's I think it's really, really helpful.
Yeah. And what would you say the high point and the low point along that journey have been for you, Emma?
I'd say probably the low point is going like months at a time of training by yourself, training on your own, and maybe not being able to find a team or having options fall through. It happens all the time, like for players that don't have a set team, especially if you're like an American, just because there's so many players that are always looking for teams, that the competition is really high for a really, really limited number of spots. So those times are kind of tough, and you don't really know, like, should I travel somewhere? Should I train? Like, you're kind of always in limbo a bit if you don't have a team. And the high point, probably whenever I've either come back to Galway or gone to a new team and then just kind of made friends. It's just been nice to now know people in different countries and just have good relationships kind of in a few places around Europe.
A home away from home then in that regard.
Yeah, exactly. That's Galway for me.
On that note, I noticed that one of your columns, I think, was about the Ireland women's national team. And when you talk about the fans and the onlookers, you say we. Do I take it you're an honorary Irish woman? So at this stage,
Yeah, I've self-appointed myself as Irish. I'm pretty sure all the girls on the team would disagree, and they think my Irish accent sounds like a leprechaun, but I just think I've done enough time here that I can be at least considered maybe a little bit Irish.
Definitely. I back it anyways. Yeah, in that pride then it transfers as well to the Galway, of course, and I know you mentioned that in a few of your articles too. Are you planning on sticking around for the future yet in Galway?
Yeah, I mean, that's the plan as of now. Like, I love Galway, and I think this will always be somewhere that is like a second home to me. I love the girls. I really, really enjoy the new management that's come in. And the team's only going to go up from here. So, like, it's all looking positive, and I have a feeling that I'll just keep on coming back to Galway.
They'll be like, "Oh, Emma, you're back again."
Yeah, they're going to ask me to leave soon. Like,
I highly doubt it. But yeah, yesterday's fixtures changed up the table even more. I think Galway are 6 now. Where do you envision you'll end up come the end of the year? I know there's a lot of football to be played yet. And as we touched on at the start, anything can change really in an instant. There can be a shock result and everything changes again. But where do you see Galway ending up this year, Emma?
Definitely top 3. Like, we definitely have the talent. We definitely have the motivation. I mean, top 2, honestly. I think that when we all start like getting on the same page and we get even more comfortable with each other and different players, that I think we're gonna pull out some big results. And obviously, like you said, anything can happen on any given day. Like, lower down teams might beat like the top place one day, so you just never know. And I just think if we show up and we're consistent, like, we're definitely gonna be pushing for top 3.
And you'll have to make massive strides this weekend in that regard. Back to Eamon Dissy Park, taking on Wexford. A big challenge, but no doubt you guys are up for it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we're ready for a home match. I think coming off of last weekend, like, I feel like it raised our confidence, seeing like how well we could play, and we stuck with our game plan, and I think it was a whole team performance. Like, we got new people on the pitch. A lot of people got good minutes. We had 3 goals, a clean sheet, which for us was huge. So I think coming off a good week of training, and then, good vibes from last weekend, like, I think that we'll go into the weekend like with our spirits high, and I think it's going to be a good match, definitely.
Perfect. Well, I'm looking forward to it anyways. That one kicks off at 6 p.m, so we'll have our eyes peeled to see how it goes for you. Thanks for your time, Emma, and best of luck at the weekend.
Thank you very much. See ya.
Now, finally, I'm joined by Emma Clinton to catch up on all of the latest action. To be honest, Emma, really hard to know where to start, given we've had so many games over the last few days. 5 on Saturday and 3 rescheduled ones yesterday. But I guess I'll quickly run through them just to start, and we'll go from there. So the results from the weekend were DLR 1-0 Shells. Katie Malone there with the chip on Amanda Budden. Peas 8-1 Cork. Anya Gorman netted 5 and shot to the top of the goal scorers list there. Treaty at Lone, 2-0 at Lone. And Galway bet Bowes 3-0, and Wexford overcame Sligo 2-0. Becky Watkins and Ciara Rossiter going on the score sheet. And then yesterday we had Cork overcome Treaty 4-0, a brace from Singleton and Mangan. We had Athlone win 1-0 over DLR, a second win on the bounce for Athlone, and Wexford Shells ended 2-0 Shells, which was a massive result, as we all know, and could have a massive impact too on the league. I need to nearly take a breath there after that, Emma. We might start there though. Shells' win yesterday, even after their loss against DLR, they really bounced back.
Yeah, I mean, it's always the case with Shells. I don't know what it is. Like, when they lose a game, their next game, they just absolutely go for it. And I think for that next win to be against Wexford Youths, one of their fierce competitors, it will give them like massive confidence going into the next few games. Like, in terms of the DLR game as well, it's not like they didn't have chances in the game. I think they might be disappointed that they didn't get anything on the score sheet. And it's not to take away from DLR's performance. Like, they obviously deserved the win. It was some cracker of a goal by Katie Malone. But like, even looking at the table now, I think Shells would be disappointed, because if they did get a result in that game, obviously, they'd be 3 points ahead of Peamount, coming into Series 8. So that's definitely something they'll look at. But, they got the win against Wexford 2-0, which is massive for them. Obviously in that game, that second goal was really crucial, and it was a judge to have gone over the line. And that second goal really let them kind of, sit back and see out the game.
Yeah, and as you say there, I'd say they'll be regretting that one against DLR, but in the same regard, given the Peamount result against Sligo and that Wexford had already lost to Peamount, maybe it set everyone on an even par again, but the win kind of sets them back up there with Peamount now again. Do you think Wexford are kind of gone adrift of that too now?
Do you know what? Like, it is easy to say that because I think, Wexford have played Peamount, they lost 4-0. They played Shells now, they lost 2-0. But if you look at the table, like, they are only still 3 points off, Peamount and Shells. So it is really early. And I think, if Wexford can get that momentum back, like, they have the quality of players to do it. Like, I really don't think anyone should be writing them off at all. Like, they're such a quality side, and I think they'll look at those two games, especially against Peamount and Shelburne, and look at what might have worked, like the good ideas that they did, and they'll look at maybe didn't work on the day, and they can only go up from there. They can only improve.
Yeah, maybe it even kind of takes a touch of the pressure off, given that the other two now maybe have to slip up. But on the other side of things, then 2 wins on the bounce for Athlone. I know we had Tommy Hewitt on last week, and he was actually just saying how that was a real goal of his in his career at Athlone Town as manager, to get the 2 successive wins, and it came off for him just a week after. But maybe that's a sign of how much they've improved this season.
Yeah, and I think even keep setting those goals, those realistic goals, and keep achieving them. And, like, Athlone can only improve from there. Like, I've been really impressed with Athlone's start to the season. And obviously them beating DLR was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. Especially because DLR just beat the champions. Do you know what I mean? It's a massive confidence boost for Athlone. And yeah, like, I've been really impressed. Keep setting those goals, and you'll see them fly up the table, hopefully.
It's like what we were just saying there with Emma Starr. It's very funny in the Women's National League. You can have your favourites, but the odd time there is a result that is just complete shocker and throws the table completely mixed up, because even at the minute you have Galway, Sligo, Cork, 6th, 7th, 8th respectively. That part of the table is really getting very interesting, I think.
Yeah, and like, that's what I love about this league is, of course you have the top 3, and that's always exciting. But, like, you have those teams in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and they're all quite similar in quality and in the way they play. And I think it makes the league even more competitive, and it makes it that, like, bit more interesting. But I even love what Emma said there when you asked her, like, what are her expectations, like, where she sees Galway. And, she said top 3, top 2. Like, people say Shelburne, Peamount, Wexford, but, like, she wants to go for it. Do you know what I mean? And I think that should be kind of the goals for every team in the league, because anything can happen,
There was one time here, I think was it week 2 or 3, we had all 3 teams say they wanted to be in the top 3 or something. It's brilliant in one regard, but in another, maybe it'll work out for them. We have to wait and see. But finally, for the recap anyways, Bohs and Treaty both pick up defeats as of late. A tough weekend coming up for them both again, but what positives do you think they can take from their performances, Emma?
Yeah, look, Bohs are facing Peamount at Purell Park, and then Treaty are facing Shells at Talca. Like, on paper, it's 1st and 2nd versus 9th and 10th. On paper, it's tough, and it will be tough. Like, don't get me wrong, but I think both teams are very strong defensively, and they're very frustrating to play. Like, even last season, I remember Bohs played Peamount, and they lost 3-0. But the first half, especially, like, Peamount were very frustrated. They didn't get. I think they didn't get as many chances as they want to, and Roach scored the header just before half time. And then, like, even do you remember, like, the Shells game? Bohs played Shells, and Pearl ended up getting the last minute winner. Like, and like, you just look at how important that was for Shells. End of season, like, they won the league with that. So, I think Bohs, they're very frustrating to play, and I think if they kind of capitalize on the things that they can, like, they're very good at set pieces. I know Isabel Finnegan has, like, a whopper free kick into the box. So if they get chances like that, make sure to capitalize on them. Treaty as well. I've been impressed with Treaty's defensive performance. I think Mendes and Parva at the back have been they have a good relationship with each other, I think. And you know, Treaty, I think they can only keep improving with their performances, and when they play teams like Shelburne and Peamount and the top teams, they can only improve and see where they go from there, you know.
Definitely. And I think you can see what Don is trying to instill into them. You know, they are very compact. Maybe sometimes it does kind of go a bit different for them when they do concede that first goal, when they're trying to come back into the game, which is understandable. But yeah, you can see what he's trying to bring in there.
And they're also like, they're a very young team, you know, like even you had Heidi on there. Heidi's only 17. You know, like Michaela Lawrence, like she won under 17 player of the year last season, and she's, you know, shot right into that starting lineup. So, you know, as a young team, they can really only improve, and, you know, they can only get better from there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll take a look at the table there if we can get it up. And before we look at the weekend's action, where we have Peamount taking on Bows, that's at 1 o'clock. Shells Treaty, that's at 2 o'clock. DLR Cork come 4 p.m. Galway Wexford at 6 p.m. and Lone Sligo at 7 p.m. So plenty of football to come over the weekend. But yeah, as it says there, Peamount and Shells up there at the top on 18 points. As Emma mentioned, Wexford only 3 points out of that conversation, although everyone is talking about that Shelburne loss as maybe a very impactful one come the end of the season. You have DLR there on 11, followed by Athlone and Galway on 10 each. As we said, that part of the table is getting very interesting as of late. Sligo Rovers with 3 wins on 9 points, followed by Cork City, Bows and Treaty yet to pick up a win or a draw this season. But as I mentioned, plenty of football to come yet this weekend. Though out of those games, Emma, which is the one that maybe stands out to you the most?
You know, I've talked about Athlone before. I've been really impressed. I think that Athlone Sligo game is going to be a must watch. I mean, like talking about Sligo, like new team in the league, like they had no expectations, which I think really benefited them. Because like as a new team, everyone thinks, you know, like, well, you know, they're going to like try their, but that like they have been so impressive. I've been so impressive with how they played. I think also having players like Emma Hansbury in the centre of the park, like Sampa has been immense for them in goal, and like even Emma Doherty as well, like she's only 18, 19, I think, and you know, give her the ball, she'll do something with it, you know what I mean? And
I think as well we're yet to see the best maybe out of Emma Doherty, because we saw what she can do for Ireland, but maybe we saw glimpses of it with Sligo Rovers, but maybe we're yet to see the full potential of it.
Yeah, I agree. And like Athlone are much the same. Like they have the players, the quality of players. I think Roisin Malloy has been absolutely immense for them as well, and Dana Sharif, and like I'm only mentioning a few, like there's so many more, but I really think that game is going to be a must watch.
And of course, you're like out of the other fixtures there, you've DLR looking to bounce back after their loss to Athlone, and you've Cork coming in on the high after their Munster Derby win over Treaty. Surely that'll be a cracker too.
Yeah, I mean, look, DLR, they're never easy to play. They're never an easy team to play, and I think especially, you know, they're playing at home, they're playing in the bowl. I think it might be an intimidating kind of factor for Cork to go into, but like as you said, Cork are coming off that 4-0 win against Treaty, and you know, like those goals that they scored, like they were really well worked goals, you know what I mean? So I think DLR will be looking at that and going, like, we have to watch this, like watch where they're coming in. I think even Mangan is kind of at the centre of that with Becky Costin. I think that's going to be a great game as well, and I've no doubt that DLR are going to look to bounce back as well.
And we touched on it earlier, obviously Peamount Shells both top of the league, playing now Bows and Treaty, 2 basement kind of sides in the league. Any hope of an upset there, Emma, do you think?
I mean, look, like I think every neutral fan is hoping for, you know, the same kind of situation that happened last season with the two of them teams. But like anything can happen in this league, and look, Treaty are yet to get their first win of the season, and what a better way to do it than beating the league champs, you know what I mean? You never know. So yeah, I think so. And you know, like with Peamount and Shelburne, I can see it going right down to the wire as well, and I think Wexford as well. You know, don't count them out, like those three. And like even Emma Starr said as well, Galway, like there is actually so many teams, it's too early to call who's really going to go for it. But yeah, Peamount and Shells, they're both 18 points. I think it's going to go right down to the wire.
It could be a tough one to pull off now for Bows or Treaty this weekend. But finally then, the only one we haven't touched on, Galway Wexford, that's at 6 p.m. on Saturday. I'd say now that could reveal a lot about both sides, like you mentioned there. You know, maybe both sides looking to prove a point now at this stage.
Yeah, I definitely think Wexford will be looking to prove a point. I thought they played quite well against Sligo, and I think, you know, like teams have done very well in kind of putting players on Ellen Malloy, because like, look, everyone knows Ellen Malloy is a massive player for Wexford. So I think Wexford maybe need to look at a way to kind of like fit her back into the game. But Galway are a tough side. Galway are a really tough side, and I think, you know, obviously Savannah McCarthy is out with that ACL injury, which was a massive blow. But, you know, they still have that quality of players. And I think like even the young players coming up, like Kate Thompson, she's only 17 and she's been in Team of the Week, I think twice now. And she's slotted into centre back. And it's so important for like clubs to have those players that can just slot in. And, you know, credit to her, she's been immense. And I think it's going to be a great game as well.
Definitely. Well, if any of that round of fixtures are anything like the last week of drama we've had, we're in for a lot of, I suppose, brilliant games. But Emma, thanks for coming on. I'm sure I'll see you on the wrap soon.
Yeah, thanks a million, Alanna. Thank you.
Well, that's all we have for you tonight on the Final Whistle.ie Women's National League show. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop us a like or leave us some feedback at finalwhistle.ie as to who we should have on next. But thanks to our guests tonight, Heidi O Sullivan of Treaty United, Emma Starr from Galway WFC, and Emma Clinton, our Women's National League expert there, as well as Brecky on production. For now, though, I've been Alanna. This has been the Final Whistle.ie Women's National League show. Good night.